Okay, we've got 11:02. I think we're going to go ahead and get going here on the presentation. Like I said, my name is Tony Burlow. I am a regional sales manager here with the IHC Group, and first wanted to take a moment and just thank all of you for taking some time here with us today and jumping on the webinar. So you know, I do have Eric King, who is the Vice President over at INX. He is here for technical questions as we wrap this up towards the end of the presentation. We'll open up for some questions, hopefully, if time permits. So I've got Eric King on the phone. I've also got Tim Mulvihill, who is one of the sales executives here at IHC. So again, we thank everybody for taking time out your busy day to join us on the webinar. We really appreciate it. We thought this was a very relevant time to do a presentation regarding the cloud platform and also incorporating some selling over the phone techniques and some suggestions that have worked for myself. I personally have used this platform a number of times. So I'm very familiar with it, and we just thought this was a very relevant time as people are moving and transitioning over to more of a work from home model. Might not be in your office face to face, sitting belly to belly like you were previously. So again, that's why we thought this was a very valid conversation, and the timing was very good on it. So again, thank you for taking time. So let's start off. I really want to start off the call and just say, you know, hit on a couple bullet points here regarding INX, the cloud. You know, why the cloud? Why INX? What are some of the bullets here and things that are of great value here as we talk about this platform? First and foremost, this platform is going to give you access to all of the ACA carriers that are on the federal exchanges. Okay, we're not going to have the ability to get into those state, state exchanges, but any FFM, exchanges, we will have the ability to access all of those carriers in one spot. Now, that said, you do have the ability to turn on and off particular carriers. If there's a particular carrier you want to push or one you do not want to push, you have those levers on the back end that you can control that access on the back end. Okay, so that's a big component. You do not have to jump from carrier site to carrier site. You have everything in one spot. Number two, there are no monthly fees to access this platform. Your relationship with IHC grants you the ability to get free access to this platform, which is a huge deal. We do not charge any monthly fees to access this particular platform. Number three, the subsidy estimates. You can get on the cloud and you can access those subsidy estimates very easily. My experience has been that they have been extremely accurate in my time that I've used this platform. Maybe off $1 or $2 once we get the actual verification from .gov. But again, having the ability to have those subsidy estimates being very accurate, it can help you determine if the ACA plan is actually a viable option for them and the best suited, or if maybe there's an alternative option plan such as a short-term medical package that might be better for them. So again, that's part of the conversation when you're taking into account those subsidy estimates. Another big one I like to talk about is your client info. On this platform, your client info is all protected. We do not access that information. We are not cross-selling. We are not trying to do anything of the sorts. So you can rest assured that as a broker in this space, your client information is protected. It is yours to sell and manage that as you see fit. So that's a very important component in my opinion. This is not an enhanced enrollment platform, which typically is going to give you more stability and reliability. I've used this platform in the peak times of the ACA enrollments, and it is a very, very stable platform. So again, that's a very important piece in my opinion. You don't want things crashing. You don't want to have to restart applications. So again, the stability factor is vital in my opinion. But most important, we want you to really earn what you're worth as a broker, right? And part of that comes through the consultative process, supplemental attachments if you're selling an ACA to gap the exposure for the customer. or like I mentioned before, having the ability to pivot to a short-term medical plan as an alternative option if it makes sense for that particular consumer. So really, those are the bullet points that we want to really hammer home here today, and bring value to you as the broker. Okay, so those are some of the bullet points. So let me get the screen over here and get this. Let me move this over here, and let me pull over my main screen for the cloud. All right. So a couple things. This is the home screen for the cloud. It's pretty standard as far as the layout. You've got a lot of different options on the left-hand side. And then here in the middle screen, you've got two different tabs. You've got one that's going to give you the ability to start a new quote, and applications, special enrollment periods, or if it's open enrollment period, that's where you're going to go to start the quote. We also have this lower section if there's a life change. So if we've got a change in income, or something has changed along the line and they have a current policy, you have the ability to also go in there and do the report of life change and get that all updated. Okay. So I'm going to go in here and click Start Quote. And what's going to happen is once we pop this screen up, it's going to give you your basic demographic information here. To enter in here, I'm going to go ahead and use a zip code in Georgia. And as I'm entering this information, I'm going to kind of touch on a couple things here, so you don't have to just watch me enter the demographic info. But what I like to tell brokers and things that I've done while I have a consumer on the phone and I'm looking to make a sale here and utilize this platform, you really want to start getting into these conversations about, you know, if you don't know this already, if it's not a current customer of yours, you know, who are we insuring? I think that's you know, relevant information. Do they have access to you know, coverage through their employer? That's another important part because that's one of the questions that's going to be asked here. Number three, I like to set a time expectation. Okay, you want to make sure that when you're on the telephone with a customer, that you tell them, hey, listen, this could be anywhere from 15 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on if it's going to be an ACA enrollment or if it's going to be a short-term medical enrollment. But please make them aware and set that proper expectation so the frustration doesn't mount while you're on the call. Okay. Another thing I really like to talk about with the consumer as I'm getting into this and going to start talking about the sale is this is a great question. What is your biggest concern going without coverage? That particular question will open up the door and the floodgates for them to tell you what's really important to them as far as having coverage. Hey, listen, I'm looking for coverage because I ski a lot and I'm worried that I could get hurt and I want to make sure I have ample coverage. Obviously, in today's times, we've got a lot going on with this COVID going on, so that might be the concern. But again, exposing that concern is going to help you do a tie back and be able to really, you know, find the right plan that's suitable for them. Okay, so the other part here is you're going to want to do some fact finding. Obviously, we need to know if there's tobacco, but I like to ask general questions around, hey, listen, do you have any ongoing health conditions? Do you have any heart problems? Are you diabetic? The typical knockout questions are going to help you in that conversation determine what's suitable for them. Because if they respond and say, hey, look, I'm a cancer survivor from 3 years ago, obviously that's going to not be a short-term medical client. That's going to be somebody that's going to be more, you know, better suited for an ACA type of a plan. Okay. A couple other ones I'll throw out there real quick. Do you have any scheduled surgeries? Any hospital visits coming up? Are they already, you know, needing to go in for this testing? Okay. Again, that's going to be a knockout for the short-term medical and will help direct you to the appropriate plan design that's suitable for them. You know, one other good one I like to ask is, in the past 10 years, have you had any medical bills that were over $1,000? That opens up these conversations so that you have better background to make the appropriate decision and guide them to the correct path for a plan design. Last one, budget. My line that I like to use here with customers is say, hey, listen, I can give you the best health plan in the world, but if it's not within a reasonable budget for you, wouldn't you say I haven't helped you today? And then I pause and let them say, yeah, they usually chuckle and say, yeah, you're right. If I can't afford it, it doesn't do me any good. So let's pin down a budget that works for you and get them to commit to that. On the front end, you're getting them to commit to that dollar amount so that when you present that plan, you can say, this is the best plan option for you and your budget needs. And then lastly, I like to do a quick sum up and just say, okay, sir, ma'am, based on what you told me, you have a budget of $400 a month. Your biggest concerns are, falling on and hurting yourself on a ski slope. So again, recapping that and confirming what they've told you will help in this sales process. Okay, so just a couple background things to collect as we guide these consumers and try and make the appropriate decision and find the best suited plan for them. Okay, so I've entered the demographic information here. The next screen that's going to come up is going to give me the ability to select the lines that I want to show. So in this scenario, I'm going to choose medical, which is going to be the ACA options. I'm going to choose short-term medical. I'm going to choose a gap plan as well, and then I'm going to also do the health discount, which includes telemedicine. That's been a hot topic of lately. So I've got these all chosen. And you'll see that it's got the estimate premium subsidy tab down below here. So we're going to just keep that on yes. And then it's going to make reference to the effective date for the short-term medical, which you have the ability to change. So here we go. Once that information is in, we're going to click next. And the next screen that's going to come up is going to be the premium subsidy estimator. And it's going to default the information that you've entered already. So we're going to use a household, that's not going to qualify for a subsidy. They're looking to get coverage. They currently don't have anything. There's 4 people in the household, so they're probably going to reflect above the federal poverty level. So on this screen, you're going to enter that household income, the number of people, and then, of course, is there access to affordable employer medical coverage? If you have questions about this, these little blue tabs you can hover over. It'll give you some additional information on this particular topic. You can also click here to help determine the affordability if they do have access to that employer coverage. So once we've entered this in, you can either hit next or just simply hit the calculate button. When I hit the calculate button, it's going to show that based on a household of 4 with that particular income, they're above that federal poverty level. They are not qualifying for a subsidy. If they were, it would then reflect the subsidy estimate here. And then when we hit next, and it brings up the ACA options first, if there was a subsidy that was involved, you would see that reflected down here below on this screen. So it would calculate the monthly premium, including the subsidy, and it would reduce it appropriately. On this screen, again, this is the ACA plans. It's going to show the carrier plan design. It is an on-exchange plan. It's going to make reference to the network type. So this is an HMO option. You've got the metallic level up here. If it's eligible for a subsidy, it's going to give you a quick snapshot of any primary care copays or generic drug copays. You also have summary tabs. You can look up providers, which will actually ping over to the provider site where they can do a provider search if that's of concern to them, which typically is. You can also look up RX. And then on this particular one, that's the plan details. This is the standardized CMS sheet that goes into quite a bit of detail around the plan design. So if they're really asking a lot of questions, you can go in here and pull up this plan design if it's going to come up. I'm sure it will. But in any event, this is the standardized CMS document that goes into great detail about how mental health is handled, how different things are handled with this particular plan, okay? Another thing that's really nice about this platform here is when we're looking at these ACA plans or any of the plans on here for that site, we can basically click compare plan. You can choose up to 12, okay? And once you select the plans that you're looking at here and wanting to compare, you just simply click the compare button, and it's going to bring up a very nice professional document in a PDF form that you as the broker can save. You can send that to the consumer. It's got all of your information on it, all of the client info on the left-hand corner. But again, great document to use if you want to send that out to a consumer, okay? Now, here's where things get really cool. we're looking at the ACA plans. We've had that conversation with them. They said, hey, look, I'm really a healthy consumer. I'm just kind of looking for that what if, you know, if something happens or I need to go in and see a doctor, I get a cold. Not only do we have these ACA options here, we can toggle right here on this box on the top right. We can now click go to short-term medical plans. So we can take a look at these ACA options for them, but we can also get in here and start doing a comparative and a price comparison on a short-term option for them, okay? Now on the short-term options, it's gonna give you the same kind of a layout, a snapshot of the benefits. We've got access to the brochures and plan summary. You can also compare these plans. And also in all of these categories, you can recommend this plan, and this I'll talk about in a little bit, but this is for when you're sending a quote over to a consumer, you can actually recommend a particular plan for that consumer. So again, as we talk about your worth and earning what you're worth as a broker, if this is a better suited option for them, you have the ability on one sales platform to offer them either a short-term medical option or an ACA option. Okay, so let's just say in this particular example, they are more prone to utilize the ACA plan. They've got some medical background, and they say, you know, I'm just going to stick with an ACA option. So we get in here and determine that this plan here, the KP Georgia Signature Silver, is the best option for them. We're going to simply click select the plan. Once we click select, it's going to bring this up and give us the ability to uncheck any of the family members. So if one of them is not going to be on the plan, we can deselect them if needed. We're going to hit save and next. And then what I really like about this is we've determined that they want the ACA plan, but guess what we can do now? We can tab over here to go to gap plans, and we say, look, you've got a $1,500 deductible along with some co-insurance on that ACA plan. What do you think about building in some protection around that exposure for you? You can now jump into the gap plans, and for example, this one here is our deductible protection 2,500, which is giving them the 2,500 accident, 2,500 of critical illness, and 2,500 of AD&D. We can simply say that one looks great. Let's select that plan. So here we are all at one time having the ability to sell this ACA plan and incorporate an ancillary product. Now, you know, here's the other product I brought up, which is the wellness plan, which is probably you know, more suited for a short-term medical plan, but you have the ability to add several different ancillary products, okay? So when we talk about showing your value here and providing these options for your consumers, if we were just utilizing the carrier site or some other form to access this, this is really what comes into play. You can put these ancillary products on there, and not only are you protecting the exposure for the consumer, but you're also earning yourself a nice blended comp. Because obviously the comp that you're going to earn on a gap product is going to be much more significant than what you're getting paid on some of the ACA plans. So again, this to me is just a phenomenal way to build these packages in instead of jumping from site to site or submitting an app here, submitting an app on this site, which can get extremely difficult, especially when you're busy with the consumers calling if it's open enrollment and things like that. So when we get to this particular point in the process, and they want to move forward on it, what would happen is we've got a couple options. We've got two things we can do here. We can either click Start Application, which I'm not going to do because we're on the test site, and this test site won't connect. But if I was to hit Start Application on a live platform, this would then bounce me over to the broker end of healthcare.gov, and I would then go into healthcare.gov and submit the required information to validate any subsidies and verify all of the information of the client. Okay. Once I complete the healthcare.gov, it's going to redirect and bounce me back to INSX Cloud to finalize the application. So that's one way we can do it. Okay. The other way we can do it is we can simply click Invite Client, Invite Applicant. So this is going to send this proposal over to the consumer, and depending on how you have your back end of the platform set up, They will have the ability to do a direct enrollment themselves, all on their own, or you also have the ability to do what we call an applicant intake form. And let me give you I'll show you what that looks like here. So if you utilize the applicant intake form, it's basically going to run that customer through all the necessary information for you to go and submit the ACA plan via .gov. Okay, so it's going to get into income, anybody enrolled, anybody on COBRA. It goes through all the necessary things so that you can receive that intake form and then submit the application when you have time. Okay, so you have a couple options. Again, that's all controlled on the back end based on how you want to have that set up. So you've got full control of that. Okay, so those are the two ways that you can do the enrollments. If we were to just select a short-term medical plan with, say, some of the ancillary products, you're going to just hit start application, and it's going to remain on this platform and go through the entire application, collect premium all at one time in one single bill, again, which is a big deal. Customers don't want to have multiple drafts, so that's another big bullet point here. If you're selling a short-term medical, for example, with a gap policy, it's going to draft one premium, okay? So that's pretty much the gist of it on the ACA enrollments, okay? So again, you'll also notice when you're doing an ACA plan, we're not going to collect that premium here for the ACA component. We are only going to collect the premium dollars for the ancillary products, because typically what's happening is the customer is going to have to call in directly to the carrier to make that first binder payment for the ACA plan. Typically they'll do that through a portal or via telephone, okay? So when you're doing this, it'll bounce back. You're going to select the plan option for the ACA plan, and they will just be paying the initial premium for whatever ancillary product that you have selected on this particular plan, okay? All right. A couple other things I wanted to touch on here real quick. There are a ton of features on here, and but a couple things I wanted to hit on. One of them is what we call the individual private exchange, okay? What the individual private exchange gives you the ability to do. Now, this was previously was a paid feature, but again, due to your relationship with IHC, we're going to give you free access to this so that you can utilize this private exchange. But what I like to say is this is an ideal way. For example, let's say you work with an association. You can go ahead and create an individual private exchange. You could put that association's logo on here. You could type in whatever the name is and very much make it personalized for them. Now, what this is really set up to do is the private exchange is going to go ahead and give you the ability to drill down on a particular product offering. So let's say this association says, we're in need of dental. We need individual dental. Well, you could go in here, create an individual private exchange specific to just a particular dental plan and put that private exchange link on the association webpage, on your broker webpage, and that way when they go in, it's only going to show that particular product along with the personalized logos and things like that. Now, on the private exchange, you've got the ability to create as many as you want. So if you've got 10 different relationships that you need to create 10 different offerings with, great. You know, one of the big things now is people are getting laid off from work and they're losing their coverage. Hey, what a great way we can get in here on the private exchange and create just a short-term offering or an ancillary offering with the short-term medical so that those folks can be directed there and do the enrollments themselves, okay? So I just think that's a fantastic option. I think it's very unique and very relevant right now in the situation that we're in. The other one I wanted to hit on here was the quoting link. So of course, you know, very similar to some other platforms, you have your own embedded quoting link that you can send off to the consumer. Like I said, you can control the back-end levers and say, hey, either the consumer can use my link and go through the entire enrollment application on their own and submit it, or you can have it set up so that it'll go through and process through that intake form and get you all the necessary information. All right. The other thing is here, you can go in here and pull up quotes that you've done. You can also view applications, your enrollments. It's going to give you all the pertinent information that you would need. Not only that, is that as you're building and selling policies on the cloud here, You do have the ability to export your information and your client data so that you can put it on a computer screen or however you need to use that, but you do have the ability to export all of that information for tracking purposes, if you got renewals coming up, things like that. So it's very accessible, it's very smooth, all right? And again, there's a number of different levers here in the background. You can customize notifications if you want to get notified when when applications are being submitted, things like that. So it's very versatile in that sense, okay? So that's kind of a quick overview of, of the platform here. Again, really what we wanted to talk about is, I know some of the state-based exchanges have opened up. We don't know what's going to happen on the FFM, on the federal exchanges. But again, we really feel that as you transition to this home work environment, which many of us are doing right now, this could be a great option for you to use selling over the telephone, having all these policies and plans in one place so that you can definitely find the right plan. Like we said, it's not always that a customer is fully suited for an ACA. They may be better suited and be able to save significant premium by utilizing an alternative option, as we all know. But again, having this all in one place is just phenomenal. So just want to recap again, the cloud. You've got access to all the ACA carriers, okay, all in one spot. You have no monthly fees. We're not going to charge you anything to get on this platform. It is completely free based on your relationship with us. You've got the subsidy estimates right there in front of you so that you can make an accurate determination of what makes sense for the consumer and find the right plan for them that works. All the client info is protected. Like I said, we're not going to go in there. No one's going to be in there looking at your client info. That is all your information and controlled by you. And it's not an enhanced enrollment. So again, the stability factor is extremely important. I can tell you, going through open enrollment period, the last thing you want to be doing is 30 minutes into an application, things crash. That is more frustrating than I can explain. So the stability factor. And of course, the most important factor is making sure that you're finding the right suitable plan for the customer, their budget, and you're providing that value and able to earn an income. So again, having this all in one place is just a vital component. The other thing I wanted to tell you, as we kind of get towards the end of the quote here, if you are, say, a general agent and you've got downline agents, you have the ability to sign up for the platform, and then we can create an embedded onboarding link that you can send to your downline producers. That way you can see business that they're submitting. You can also control the downline as far as what you want them to show, as far as products, and on the back end you can control those levers. All right. So what I'm going to say to kind of wrap this up, if you're interested in accessing the platform, I'd ask that you either do two things. Either reach out to your contact at IHC. The other option you have is we've got the mics are off right now, but we've got the chat feature on. If you're interested, I would ask that you just go to the chat feature and type in interested. That way we will know and be able to identify you and be able to follow up appropriately with you and answer any questions and get you all set up and rolling on this. So that's at this point, that's all I really have. What I'd like to do is we can open up, again, the chat feature is open. If there's any questions that we have right now, we'd be more than happy to take those. So feel free, Kayla. I know you got the access to that. So if there's any questions that are coming through, I'd be more than happy to address those with Eric and I.
Sure. Thanks, Tony. A couple questions coming in that we'll try to get to here. One question is, can I continue to use my IHC broker site?
It's a great question. Without a doubt, you will have access to the IHC broker portal. That is completely separate from this. This is all fully integrated on the cloud, but that will definitely remain intact. So you will have access to that. That will not be going away. Great question.
Great. Another question here is, do I have to be FFM certified to use this platform?
So that's a great question. You definitely will have to be FFM certified. Part of the process is when you sign up for the cloud, they're going to take your NPN number, which is one of the required pieces of information, and when they go to set up the account, they are going to validate that you are FFM certified, which is definitely a requirement. So that is a great question. Great question.
All right. Let me see a couple other questions here. Is there the ability to upload client list, or a few questions on that here?
I'm going to default that one to Eric. He's a little more techie than me, so I'm going to default that one to Eric.
Yeah,
Eric?
so with my experience in the past, we do have a way, if that's something that you'd like us to look into, what that would take. But the nice thing about the INSX Cloud platform is by using the broker side of healthcare.gov with your FFM credentials, when you finish the quote, you branch over to healthcare.gov, you are able to look up any prior customer information, any enrollments that were, or I'm sorry, applications that were done over there, and you reuse that data. So by loading the customer data into our site, you're able to see prior enrollments in here, but really where it's most important is on healthcare.gov, where you could utilize that data that's already there to do a renewal or to create a new application from. So if there is any prior data as far as the FFM goes, it is already over there.
Yeah, and I want to just touch on one more thing. Just understand that we're very much around the value prop for the broker. So not only the products, the platform, but also having direct access to your sales rep and your point of contact here. So again, Eric, like Eric said, that's something we can definitely have an offline conversation and work with you if needed to get those things uploaded. We're more than happy to do so. Again, we wanted to keep this timely. We know everybody's working hard and working from home, quite a few of you, but we appreciate everything. I just want to reiterate the fact that if you have some interest in getting set up here on the cloud, please reach out to your point of contact at IHC, and we'll be more than happy to help get you going, answer questions, make sure you're well versed in this and comfortable using it, and have access to the resources that you'll need to utilize this platform. Or like I said, you can also go into the chat feature and just simply type interested. And like I said, we've got all the email and contact info from the registration process, and we will make sure to follow up with you promptly. So again, thank you all for taking time here this morning and spending some time with us this morning, and hope everybody stays safe and has a great rest of the day. Thank you all.